the WWE is have you ever heard of the Montreal screw job?
If I did, I would probably talk about it a lot more.
Okay.
So safely say no.
Yeah, okay. To wrestling fans, this is especially those who are alive. This was our "Where were you when JFK was shot" moment.
Like, wow. Who's JFK in this scenario, friend?
JFK is a guy by my favorite all-time professional wrestler, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Rest the hitman. Gotcha.
The Red the Hitman Hart. All right, the Montreal, it's like if you're a wrestling fan, you know who the Montreal Screwjob are. You would sit there like, I remember when it happened. If you were alive, or you're able to, because it's been told so many different podcasts, so many different documentaries are out there about this thing. It was just it's one of the most major things in professional wrestling, because
Okay.
not only this is what arguably what historians, especially wrestling historians, will call the start of the Attitude Era, where WWE
Oh,
really starts to hit its peak.
the attitude era.
It's the start of the character Mr. McMahon,
Okay.
and a bunch of other things. It was supposed to be originally, after it happened, supposed to be WWF's death nail, but it didn't. It just jump
Okay.
started it to a whole new level. So we're going to talk about the Montreal Screwjob.
Okay.
The Montreal Screwjob was an infamous unscripted professional wrestling incident that occurred on November 9th, 1997 at the Survivor Series pay-per-view at the Molson Center in Montreal. Hence,
Okay.
Montreal Screwjob.
Right.
Vince McMahon and his employees covertly manipulated the outcome of a match between Bret the Hitman Hart, who was at the time the reigning WWF champion, and his opponent, Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
The manipulation, or shoot screw job in professional wrestling terminology, occurred without Hart's knowledge and resulted. And as a result, he lost the title to Shawn Michaels in his last WWE match before departing for the rival promotion WCW.
Okay.
So let me give you a background of this. So WWE has moved away from the Rocket Wrestling um, connection, or as WWE calls it, Hulkamania Runs Wild, because the main focus was Hulk Hogan and his veritable cast of characters: the Macho Man Randy Savage, the Ultimate Warrior,
Right.
Roddy Piper, you Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, you name it. So in the Steroid Child,
Ted
um,
DiBiase. Get out
oh
of
my god,
here.
dude! You
Yikes.
the word you sit back and watch it. It was like, yeah, he was a bad
Yikes.
guy. You just go, man, I hate him. Now you watch this stuff, and some of it just like, Jesus Christ, I want to punch this guy in the face. And it told you
who
how good he was doing that character.
who allowed us to watch this unsupervised?
I don't know. You know he's a preacher now.
Oh my God. Who let Ted DiBiase speak the word of God to them? Oh
You'd be surprised. I mean, there's a difference between the million
my
dollar
gosh.
man, Ted
Is
DiBiase,
it? Now
and
I
the
gotta look him
person,
up.
Ted
Now I gotta look him
DiBiase.
up. Now I gotta
So
look him up.
yeah, so they moved away from that to what they call the new generation.
The new generation.
Yeah,
Okay.
because after the steroid trial and everything, they were tired of the government looking at these big buffy guys, and they were going more towards smaller, a little bit more technical, still the exasperate characters. And one of the guys that really emerged during that time was a guy named Bret the Hitman Hart. Now,
The
Bret,
hitman.
yes, Bret Hart. A little background on Bret Hart is he comes from this. He comes from this multitude, this this large family, the Hart family, who were big, like literally big wrestlers. His father owned a wrestling company, Calvary Stampede Wrestling in Calvary, Canada. His family, his father, like wrestled Muhammad Ali one time, wrestled all across the world, trained his kids how to wrestle who wanted to get into wrestling business, which pretty much all of his male sons did, not as in some shape or form, not as big as Brett and his little brother Owen.
Ted DiBiase's real name is Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, I mean, oh man.
Unbelievable.
And they trained in their home in Calvary, which they nicknamed in the basement, which they nicknamed the dungeon. And,
the dungeon.
Yeah, wrestlers would come from around the world to learn from Stu Hart, and he would stretch them out, to hurt them, put them in moves,
Literally,
and make them feel like they were going to die. Because that's how they taught wrestling back in the day. And
oh gosh. And if you survive, you get a contract. What the hell?
No. You survive, he'll train you more. and back when he owned his company, he'll put you on if you're any good, or he'll make recommendations to other promoters around Canada or the United States or Japan or Mexico. So Brett starts wrestling, and he wrestles for his father, and his father gets bought out because he's in financial straits from Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon buys, because Calvary Stampede Wrestling wasn't really making a lot of money at the time. This is back in the early 80s. So Vince buys him out, gets him out of debt, and he's like, "Hey, have Brett come work for me." And Brett was pretty much a workhorse. He worked in a tag team with his brother-in-law, Jimmy Averill Neidhart.
Yeah.
And they be known the Hart Foundation.
Is that his real brother? Was that his real brother?
Brother-in-law.
Okay, brother-in-law. That's right.
Yeah,
Jim
he married
the Anvil Neidhart. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
he married Brett's sister.
Right.
And became really a stalwart workhorse for him. And like everyone wanted to work with Brett because Brett was a professional, and he was at the time the best technical wrestler in the world, if not one of the best technical wrestlers ever in terms of professional wrestling. And he's really, so Vince is like, okay, let's put him in a singles run. So they break up the Hart Foundation, goes on a singles run, and people really start gravitating towards him. And Brett was never a flashy character. He wasn't this over-the-top comic book character. Yeah. He was really a down-to-earth guy that was like, look, I'm going to work. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to work. I'm going to outwork you.
He looked tired all the time. Before the match started, he looked tired as
he looked tired because he probably was.
He looked worn the hell out.
He looked like
before the match started, though. He just looked like, oh, God, I worked all day and I gotta come do this wrestling.
Like, he looked like
he looked rough.
Yeah, he looked like he got out doing a 9 to 5 in a factory. It was like, I gotta rough this dude up, man.
12-hour extension.
He looked like he was a worker. Yeah, because that's how he looked. He was a worker. And people gravitated towards this guy. And as many people after Hulk Hogan, they tried to throw and say, this is the top guy. People always gravitated towards Brett. Everyone liked Brett. Everyone wanted to work with Brett. He was a straight shooter. He told you like
he seemed very real. He seemed like a very real guy who wrestled.
Yes, and even today, he's real. He'll tell you like the fuck he is.
Hilarious. So it's hilarious that I'm remembering the characterization of Bret Hart.
And at that same time, there was. A little later, he started a little later. It was another wrestler coming up, a guy by the name of Shawn Michaels.
Now wait a minute. Yeah. Let me see if I can remember. He was a duo wrestler too. He had a partner.
Yeah,
and the name of their team was wait, something about midnight something about midnight
Rockers.
Midnight Rocker.
Yes, he
was
a tag.
I know it? That's insane.
He was a tag team. He fought a tag team with a guy he met Marty Jannetty. They started at the AWA as the Midnight Rockers. And yeah, I'll tell you that it started as the Midnight Rockers because they formed that tag team and the promoter gave them that name. And they wanted to try to steal some of the thunder of another tag team. Well, two other tag teams that were wrestling around the same time that they were. The Rock and Roll Express.
The Rock and Roll Express. Oh my god.
And the Midnight Express.
The Midnight Express. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, the Midnight Express. Those are two NWA Jim Crockett promotion tag teams who were very well. The Rock and Roll Express were very popular, and the Midnight Express was a major heel team. And if you take a picture, if you're able to look at the pictures of in their primes, the Rockers, the Midnight Express, and a Rock and Roll Express, all three teams look similar.
they wore like they wore pink and green and light blue
they were,
fabric around their arms.
Yeah,
it was a lot of pink. It was a lot of pink for it to be the 80s and the early 90s.
Yeah, the Rockers. Yeah, the Rockers and the Midnight Express were their dresses were similar. Like they were with these loud neon colors, like typical 80s shit.
Right.
Funny story is that the Rock and Roll Express are still wrestling. I think this is their last year of wrestling.
I don't want them to be wrestling right now. These men have to be in their.
They're in their 60s. No, they're in their 60s.
They're 60s only.
I think the mid to late 60s. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Ricky Morton and Robert.
How many strokes have been had? How many strokes have they had between them? Somebody's had a stroke. Somebody's had a stroke.
Rock and Roll Express is Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. They're still wrestling. The Midnight Express have been done.
It's insane.
It was Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane was the last iteration of it. There was another iteration of it. His names are escaping me. Bobby Eaton passed away last year. Stan Lane is still with us, and Dennis Condrey was the first. It was Bobby Eaton, Dennis Condrey were the first iteration of the Midnight Express.
I would love to see, for everybody that was not harsh drug addicts or abusers, I would love to see a classic ring introduction of all of these tag team and singular wrestlers, and see them walk up very slowly and limp up, and some of them wheelchair up to the ring with their old signature songs. That would be something that I might pay a little money to steal.
The Rock and Roll Express. They ain't limping up.
Might pay a little money to
steal. I think this is they said this is the last year, but yeah, they weren't limping up. Hell, Ricky Morton was doing fucking Canadian doing fucking backflips and shit. Everyone was like, oh my god. But Shawn Michaels was coming up too. He was part of the tag team Rockers, him and Marty Jannetty. They split up, and Shawn Michaels became a heel, which wrestling terms is bad guy. He became the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and he came up the same way and became almost just as big as Bret Hart for the World Wrestling Federation. Now, mind you, that Hulk Hogan and the rest of the old generation is gone. And also during that time, during New Generation, you also have Razor Ramon and Diesel. Razor Ramon, Scott Hall. Yes, Diesel, Kevin Nash. They got a huge paycheck for WCW and they bounced. They went over to WCW and helped with Hulk Hogan become the NWO, New World Order.
If you want to see some ridiculousness, see Hulk Hogan, instead of all the blondness that made him popular, just dye a lot of his hair just pitch black.
No, that was his hair was still the same. He drew a fake beard with black marker.
Was his
Black
hair the
paint.
same though?